In July of 2025, Sabre sold its hotel business, SynXis, a real, working, property-level technology business, the kind of asset most companies spend years trying to build. Sabre sold it to a private equity firm for about $1 billion, and almost every dollar went straight to paying down debt. Think about what that actually is. A company selling a healthy limb to keep the body alive.
And that one decision tells you everything about where Sabre sits in this story. Because part 2 was Amadeus playing offense from strength. This is the opposite. This is triage.
Welcome back to the V1 Airline Retailing Report. This is State of the GDS, Part 3. I'm Eric Markets.
And I'm Steph Nell. Quick orientation if you are new. 4-part series, 1 GDS at a time. Part 1 was the foundation, how the GDS got built and forced neutral. And here is a thread worth pulling because in Part 1, the original machine, the one American Airlines built out of a missile defense system, was called Sabre. This company is the direct descendant of that machine. The thing that started the whole industry is now the one fighting hardest to stay in it.
And that is the frame for Part 3. Amadeus is the incumbent trying to own the future. Sabre is the incumbent trying to live long enough to see it. Different bet entirely. Survive, focus, modernize, and do all three before the debt catches up.
So let's be fair to Sabre and hard on the math at the same time, because both the comeback and the risk are real.
Start with the good news, because there is real good news, and Sabre has earned the right to tell it. The latest quarter, the first quarter of 2026, was the strongest the company has reported in years.
It was. Revenue around $760 million, up about 8% year over year, and a beat against what the street expected. Adjusted EBITDA, the core measure of operating profit, up roughly 21%. Operating income up 27%. After a long stretch of pain, Sabre returned to profitability. That is not spin, that is a genuine inflection.
And I want to be precise here because the headline earnings number looks odd at first glance. The per-share profit was tiny and technically down from a year ago. But that prior year figure was inflated by the hotel business Sabre has since sold. So it is not a like-for-like decline. Strip out the noise and the operating story is the same. The core business turned the corner.
But there is one number that hangs over all of it, and we cannot talk about Sabre honestly without putting it on the table early.
The debt. Sabre carries north of $4 billion in debt. Now the trajectory is genuinely better. They paid down more than $1 billion in 2025. They pushed the maturities out, so more than 90% of that debt does not come due until 2029 or later. They refinance the near-term pieces. So this is not a company about to hit a wall next quarter.
But $4 billion in debt against a company this size shapes every decision it makes. It is why the hotel business got sold. It is why free cash flow was still negative in the most recent quarter, even as Sabre guides to positive cash flow for the full year. It is the reason Sabre cannot do what Amadeus does, which is fund a long, patient transition out of pure strength. Sabre has to modernize and delever at the same time, on a clock.
That is the whole tension of this episode in one sentence. Sabre bought itself runway. The question is whether the runway is long enough. Let's go back to that hotel sale because it is the most revealing strategic act Sabre has made, and most coverage treated it as a footnote. It was not a footnote.
SynXis was Sabre's hospitality technology business, the system hotels use to manage rooms, rates, and distribution, a legitimate, valuable asset. Sabre sold it in mid-2025 to TPG, a private equity firm, for about $1 billion headline, a bit less net. And the proceeds did not go into a bold new bet. They went to the balance sheet, debt paydown.
And here's what makes it strategically heavy rather than just financial. Think about what Sabre gave up. It sold the one property-level system it owned. In a world where everyone talks about owning more of the stack, the way Amadeus does, Sabre went the other direction. It got smaller on purpose.
So is that weakness or discipline? Because you can read it both ways.
You can, and the honest answer is it is both. The bear read is that Sabre sold a good business because it had no choice, that this is a company shrinking under the weight of its own balance sheet. The bull read is that this was triage in the clinical sense. You do not save everything. You cut what you must to protect the core, and you buy time for the part that matters. Sabre decided the airline business was the part worth saving and sold the hotel business to fund that decision.
Which sets up the obvious question. If you sold a limb to save the airline business, then the airline business had better be worth saving. So is it?
That is exactly the question Part 3 has to answer. And it lives in two places: what Sabre is building and where Sabre still genuinely wins. The build is called Sabre Mosaic. Walk through what it actually is, and then I want to draw a line the industry constantly blurs.
Sabre Mosaic is Sabre's retailing platform, and the design philosophy is the key. It is componentized, best of breed, modular. The pitch is that an airline does not have to rip out everything and replace it in one terrifying program. It can adopt offer and order capability piece by piece, module by module, and modernize at its own pace. That is a real and appealing contrast to a single monolithic replacement.
And on paper, that modularity is smart, especially for an airline nervous about a Big Bang migration. But here's the line I promised, and it matters more on this episode than any other. The industry blurs two very different things. One is an airline putting its fares into Sabre's marketplace in the newer NDC format. The other is an airline tearing out its old reservation system and running every booking as an order. The first changes how the airline's content is distributed. The second changes the airline's core plumbing. They get sold as the same milestone. They are nowhere close.
Unpack that, because it is easy to miss.
Sabre has NDC content live through its marketplace from a long list of major airlines: British Airways, Iberia, Air France, KLM, Lufthansa, Qatar, Emirates, and more. More than 40 carriers. Content flowing. That is real, and Sabre will tell you about it. But that is NDC content moving through the pipe. It is not the same as an airline migrating its core reservation and order system onto Sabre's new architecture. And on that harder thing, the deep offer and order migration, Sabre is earlier than its marketing suggests. Its flagship reference, American Airlines, is still at the pilot stage, not full production. And here's the sharper version of the point. No airline, not one, is yet running its core system in full offer and order production on Mosaic. The marquee names you hear, Ethiopian and Virgin Australia, are selections and first steps, not go-lives.
So the same discipline we applied to Amadeus in Part 2.
The exact same discipline, and it cuts against both companies. With Amadeus, we separated Finnair in true production from Lufthansa still rolling out. With Sabre, separate NDC content in production, which is plentiful, from core offer and order migration, which is mostly still pilot. Sabre's press tends to blur connected and announced with in production. On air, we do not blur it.
And this is where the gap with Amadeus is real and worth saying plainly.
It is. Sabre does not have an Altea. It does not own the airline's full operating system the way Amadeus does. And it just sold the one property-level platform it had. So Sabre Mosaic is a genuinely compelling architecture story, but compared to Navio, which has live airline native orders running, Mosaic is still more blueprint than building. The modular approach may prove smarter in the end. It is just not as far down the road as the slides imply.
And there is one more name, one Sabre does not put on its slides, that tells the story better than any of them.
Riyadh Air. A brand new Saudi carrier built from a clean sheet to run on offer and order from day one, with no legacy system to tear out. When it chose the engine for its core, it did not pick a GDS at all. It picked a challenger, a modern retailing platform called Flyer, with IBM integrating it. And it just launched this summer, flying its first routes as the first full-service airline built order native from the start.
So where does Sabre sit at Riyadh Air?
On the plane, but not in the cockpit. Sabre supplies the pricing and offer optimization modules, the dynamic pricing layer, and it will rightly claim that win. But the core, the thing that holds the order and runs the retailing, belongs to a competitor. And that is the uncomfortable signal for the whole GDS model. When an airline got to choose its core with no legacy baggage, it did not choose the incumbent for the hard part. Sabre won a module, not the platform.
And it is not only the clean sheet airlines. There is a risk hiding inside that carrier list too, the one Sabre likes to show off.
There is, and I want to say it carefully because it is a risk, not today's reality. Look at who is on that list. British Airways, Iberia, Lufthansa, Air France KLM. Several of the biggest names have committed their future retailing to Amadeus. Right now, the content Sabre distributes for them still comes from each airline's own system. But watch what happens as those carriers cut over. The offer starts getting built and priced inside Amadeus, and Sabre is left distributing an offer its own biggest competitor assembled.
So the thing Sabre markets as a strength could quietly become a dependency.
That is the risk, and it connects straight back to part 2. We made the point there that the distribution fee does not disappear in the offer and order world. The airline still pays to distribute. What changes is which desk collects the fee. When the offer gets built inside Amadeus, the valuable part, the building and the pricing, belongs to Amadeus, and Sabre keeps distribution, which is the thinner slice. For Amadeus, the fee migrates inward. For Sabre, it can migrate away.
And Sabre has less of a net to catch it than Amadeus does.
Much less. Amadeus owns the engine the money moves to. Sabre just sold one of the platforms that could have caught it, and its retailing layer is thinner to begin with. Put the two together and Sabre is squeezed from both ends. The clean sheet airlines hand their core to challengers like Flyer. The big legacy carriers hand their retailing to Amadeus. Either way, the engine and the fee that rides on it ends up somewhere other than Sabre. That is the economic reason the pressure in this series falls hardest on the players without a deep retailing engine to recapture the fee.
And Sabre is not taking that quietly.
It is not. And this is the newest turn in the story. On its first quarter call this year, Sabre's CEO Kurt Eckert went at Amadeus directly. He accused Amadeus of using its dominance in Altéa, the reservations platform so many airlines run on, to make it commercially or technically unattractive for those airlines to buy offer and order tools from anyone else. In plain terms, Sabre says Amadeus is using the plumbing it already owns to lock airlines into its own retailing and lock competitors out. And Eckert said Sabre is working on it from a legal and regulatory standpoint.
So we flag exactly what that is and what it is not.
Carefully. This is an accusation from a competitor on an earnings call. It is not a filed lawsuit, and it is not a regulator's finding. Amadeus has not directly answered it. So read it two ways at once. It is a real complaint, and it names the exact squeeze we just walked through. It is also the move of a company on the back foot, reaching for the referee because it is losing ground on the field. Both can be true. But when the direct descendant of the original GDS starts talking about regulators, the fight over who owns the offer has turned into a fight with lawyers. Hold that thread. We pull it all the way through to part 4. Now the good part of Sabre's hand, because it has one, and it is not small. In part 2 we said Amadeus's moat is integration depth. Sabre's moat is geography and a customer segment.
North America, and specifically the corporate travel and travel management company channel. By most estimates, Sabre carries something like half of North American GDS volume. That is its fortress. And it matters because of what that channel is. The big corporate and TMC segment is the slowest part of the whole market to migrate to NDC and offer and order, and it is the one place where Amadeus does not have structural dominance.
And that is a better moat than people give it credit for. The corporate channel is sticky, it is high value, and it is conservative. It does not rip and replace. It moves slowly and rewards the incumbent that already runs its workflows. So Sabre's stronghold happens to be the part of the market that gives a survivor the most time.
But you can hear the double edge in that.
You can. The same slowness that protects Sabre today is the slowness that delays the modern retailing revenue Sabre needs tomorrow. Its safest customers are its least urgent to modernize. So the moat buys time, and it also slows the very transition Sabre is betting its future on. Comfortable ground and slow ground are the same ground here. Sabre is also making a loud bet on the agentic era, and it is the same bet Travelport is making, which we will get to in part 4. The claim is, be the clean pipe.
Sabre launched agentic APIs and a proprietary translator server built on the same model context protocol idea we talked about in Part 1. The positioning is, when AI agents come shopping for travel, Sabre wants to be the clean, structured connection they plug into. It claims first mover status there. It has signed agentic partnerships, including live post-booking, servicing with one partner and conversational booking efforts with others. And it has built a data layer, Sabre IQ, on a big cloud footprint.
And connect that to Part 1, because it is the same pressure. Agents shopping endlessly explode look to book, the ratio of searches to actual sales. Whoever is the clean pipe for that traffic has a real role to play. The problem is that being the clean pipe is exactly what Travelport says it is building too. So clean pipe is a crowded claim, not a unique moat.
So let's land the tension, bull case and bear case, honestly.
The bull case is genuinely better than it was 18 months ago. Sabre stopped bleeding. It is profitable again. It cut its debt and pushed the maturities out. It has a coherent, modular architecture story in Mosaic, a real first-mover posture in agentic, and a fortress in the North American corporate channel that Amadeus cannot easily storm. A focused survivor with a cleaner balance sheet and a defensible base is a real company, not a zombie.
And the bear case?
The bear case is that Sabre is behind on the thing that matters most, the deep offer and order migration, while carrying $4 billion in debt and burning cash to restructure. Its architecture is mostly still blueprint against Amadeus's live orders. Its safest customers are its slowest to modernize, and the clock is the 2029 debt wall. The existential question is brutally simple. Can Sabre modernize fast enough, at sustainable cost, to grow into that balance sheet before the maturities force the issue?
And there is a market signal sitting on top of all this that we should name carefully.
Carefully is right. Constellation Software, a serial acquirer of software companies, took a meaningful stake in Sabre, just under 13%, with a board seat under a standstill governance agreement earlier this year that caps their position at 15% and has them voting with the board. Now, I want to be disciplined. That is a governance arrangement, not a takeover. It is not a take private. But when a famously patient software acquirer builds a position in a leveraged, cheap recovering software company, the market notices. Read it as a smart investor betting on the turnaround, with optionality. Anything beyond that is inference, and we will flag it as inference.
So, the critical take.
The critical take is that Sabre has done the hard, unglamorous work that Amadeus never had to do. It triaged, it focused, it survived, and it bought itself runway. That deserves respect, but survival is not the same as winning. Sabre has proven it can stay in the game. It has not yet proven the airline business it sold a limb to save is going to modernize fast enough to be worth it. The next several quarters of actual offer and order production, not press releases, decide whether this was a turnaround or just a stay of execution. Pull it back to the series. Same machine, 3 bets. Amadeus is betting on breadth, owning the whole stack from strength. Sabre is betting on focus and endurance, getting smaller and cleaner and faster, and trusting that a disciplined survivor with a strong North American base can modernize in time.
And the honest truth is we do not know yet which bet is wiser. Breadth gives Amadeus more to lose and more to cannibalize. Focus gives Sabre less margin for error but a cleaner story. One is fighting its own cash cow. The other is fighting its own balance sheet.
Next time, Part 4, the most radical bet of the 3. Travelport. The one that went private, hit the wall hard, restructured its debt, and then did something neither Amadeus nor Sabre would dare. It threw out the legacy architecture and rebuilt the pipe from scratch, betting that a cleaner platform wins even from third place. And we close the season on the real question. Can this industry even support 3 of these companies? Or are we watching 3 players fight over 2 chairs?
Amadeus owns the stack. Sabre survived to fight. Travelport rebuilt the whole machine. 3 answers to the same question.
If this was useful, follow the show so the finale lands in your feed and share it with someone trying to read where airline retailing actually goes next. The V1 Airline Retailing Report is on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. I'm Eric Markets.
I'm Steph Nell. Thanks for listening.
Same machine, 3 bets. Stay sharp out there.